I'm going to say something a little controversial, and I'm going to be brave and do it. Women are awesome. Yeah, women are amazing. In case you guys didn't know, I think it just needs to be said. Women rule. Let's talk about it.
Uh-oh.
Yes, boy!
French toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Like, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Somebody hit somebody with a pie. Do something.
Giovanni yelling we're out of time as we go off the air.
Giovanni yelling a lot of things tonight.
And welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mark It Down podcast. I am James Gisanti, and it is Thursday night. You know what that means. We are here to cover TNA Impact, which means this is the Gympact Zone. Yeah, guys, I know I blew you away with that like wild statement, that like unheard of statement. Women are awesome. Particularly women wrestlers are awesome. It's been a great week for women's wrestling. Lots of highs, a lot of them. And tonight just kind of highlighted it even more, in my opinion. I'm so happy to see women's wrestling thriving, no matter the company, no matter the brand. There is just so much talent that is delivering and participating at such a high level, and no matter the match type. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the main event, this grudge match that's been building for a while now. We've had Dani Luna and Indi Hartwell going at it in some shape or form for the last several months. And I feel like it totally culminated here tonight with this dog collar match. Now, this is the first time TNA's had a knockouts dog collar match in 2 years. Been a while. And quite frankly, that's good. You don't want this type of match to happen all that frequently. I'm even going to say something a little like legit wild. Maybe it should have been longer. That's not to say this match didn't earn it. That's not to say this match didn't deserve such a hardcore stipulation. But dog collar matches are legit. Now, granted, if there was going to be a knockouts match, or quite frankly, if there was going to be a TNA match that earned the dog collar stipulation, this one has been building towards it, this rivalry between these two knockouts, Dani and Indi. And this match, I think, definitely lived up to it. Both women bringing the violence, bringing the intensity, and they were both very creative with their use of the steel chain, of the dog collar leash. That doesn't feel right. I don't like saying that they were on a leash, but the steel chain connecting the two collars together. Both women were creative with it, using it to beat each other, using it to set up spots, using it to put their opponents in interesting predicaments. I think both women really stepped up and showed out for this match. I know that we've all basically been waiting for the ascension of Dani Luna for quite some time. She was a standout when she first debuted in TNA. We were all, at least some of us in the beginning, were on board with Spitfire, her tag team with Jody Threat. And then when the heel turn came and her going single, we all had high hopes. And I don't want to say it's been a slow burn, but they didn't rush it. They didn't immediately put her in a position to go for the knockouts title and win it. But she's been circling it. She's been grasping at it. And I feel like we're finally getting there. This matchup, Dani getting the big win over Indi, due to, in an otherwise great match, I wasn't crazy about the finish. I wasn't super into it. And I'd say that was true for both knockouts matches. If you guys hear rustling, I apologize. I have a very angsty kitten. I'm going to say this is true for both knockouts matches. Quite frankly, pretty much every match, save for the X Division matchup. all the results kind of were a little wonky. Or at least how we got to the finish was a little wonky. Dani goes to the outside after having been busted up, bloody crimson mask ordeal. She goes to the outside to get a white powder that Indy is able to knock away from her, have spilled all over the mat. As they lock up, Dani pushes or shoves Indy into the referee, who gets distracted. This gives Dani the opportunity to hit Indy with her finish, a big drop of hers. And you'd almost think that because of the ref bump, there would have been some hesitation, but there really wasn't. And the ref pretty much immediately goes into the count, 1, 2, 3, and Dani Luna wins. It's hard to feel like you're cheating or being cheap in a no DQ match, such as a dog collar match, but they found a way. They really did find a way. Again, I don't want to take away from what these women accomplished. This was a brutal match. This was a rough match, and I think they really delivered. They earned their main event spot, but just wasn't crazy about this about the finish. I don't think if you're trying to build Dani Luna up to be a real threat, a physical imposition, you don't need the distractions. You don't need the extra bells and whistles. This should have been a toughness bout. And I get wanting to protect Indy Hartwell. I do. But taking a loss shouldn't be the biggest deal in the world. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm nitpicking a little bit, especially for a match that I really, really did enjoy. But, yeah, could have gone a little bit cleaner with that finish. But bloody affair. Go check it out. Like I said, this week has been a big, big week for women's wrestling. AEW Dynamite crowning their inaugural knockouts. Jesus, women's tag team champions, and I think the women. The women didn't main event yesterday, but yeah, just a lot of good wrestling for the women. Moving back to the start of the show, we're still dealing. Oh, no, never mind. Go to the start of the show. We have our self-proclaimed king of TNA, the TNA world champion, Frankie Kazarian, come to the ring, cut a promo about the new AMC era. Yep, guys, it's happening. It's real. It wasn't a dream. TNA is going to be on AMC starting January 15th. It's a big deal. We've talked about it already. I'll get way more hyped as we get closer to January and we get closer to the date. I think we're going to do a giveaway. We'll see. But Frankie talking about this new AMC era and how he tells Negan, Rick Grimes, Walter White to move aside because he is now the new face of AMC. It was a good line. Frankie acknowledges what he called angry marks who aren't happy that he's TNA champion. He says he hears them. He hears it all. But he doesn't care. He was thinking maybe if AJ Styles wins a world title in WWE, then all the old guys from vintage TNA could be on top in 2025. That was good. That was good. Acknowledging Joe as the AEW champion. It was good stuff. As he's, glazing himself in the past, Mike Santana's music hits. He makes his entrance through the crowd. He starts his promo in Spanish, and then he switches over. He says he has plans. First, he's going to lock himself in that steel cage next week against NXT and beat them. And once he does, he is going to pull the trigger on the target that is Frankie Kazarian. And on January 17th at Genesis, TNA Genesis, he is going to get his contractually obligated rematch. And we are going to get Frankie Kazarian versus Mike Santana for the TNA World Championship. Maybe. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but maybe. Good way to start the show. Frankie is our TNA champion. Starting with the champion is always a good thing. Makes it feel important, makes him feel important. And Santana's still hot. I'm not thrilled with the booking. I haven't been thrilled with the booking. I think it's super interesting that he's not challenging on the first episode of Impact on AMC. that felt like it should have been when he went for the title. But I don't know. We'll talk. We'll talk come January 15th, 17th. We'll see. We then go backstage with NXT as they talk about the results of TNA Final Resolution. Guys, I do apologize that I didn't get to cover it here on the pod. It was very overwhelming to deal with both TNA and the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. I tried to get to it, but life lifed, and I just couldn't cover it. But it was a good show. You should go check it out. Definitely one of the smaller shows, but a good way for TNA to end the year on premium live events, pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we're backstage with NXT. Lexis King leading the charge. Stax, who is now the TNA International Champion, having beaten Steve Macklin at the pay-per-view. I still hate it. He has a special message for Santino Marella, calling him a good director of TNA, but a horrible father. Oofta. Oofta. That was big. We then go to our first matchup of the night as Matt Cardona took on Lexis King. The stipulation being a winner gets advantage in the steel cage match for next week. Team TNA is Steve Macklin, Matt Cardona, and the Hardys. And Team NXT is Lexis King, Tyreek, Tyson, Stax, and Brooks Jensen. I think I'm missing somebody from Team TNA. I'm sorry about that. But the match itself was fine. It was, King did a good job of working over Cardona's arm. Cardona did a good job of selling it throughout the match. The finish coming, it was a quick match as Cardona as the referee is distracted by Lexis King. We see Stax try and hit Cardona with the championship, his TNA International Championship. Cardona is able to counter it and hit him with radio silence. But this allows King to roll him up, get the 1-2-3, and get the advantage for his team. After the match, there was a beatdown as Stax and Lexis King worked over Cardona's already injured arm, hit him with Lexis King's cane that has come in handy a lot for Team NXT. This is becoming a very, very powerful weapon, it seems, in wrestling lore. And just wallops that arm. The beatdown ends when Steve Macklin runs in, makes the save, and chases them off. So, yep, Team NXT, I guess the heels of the situation are get the advantage, which is the right way to go. Matt Cascone said Team NXT is a bunch of nobodies. And Cardona still can't beat NXT talent, shaking his head. Pimp Cane for the win. Yes. Well, first of all, Matt, welcome. Thanks for being here, pal. It's been my problem. It's not only been my problem with the storyline of Team NXT versus Team TNA, but it's been my problem with the NXT TNA arrangement in general. NXT, and it's a problem for NXT and overall beyond their TNA issue, but Team NXT just doesn't have any stars. I like Lexis King. I'll be the first to say it. I like Lexis King. I like Stax to a point, but this is not the cream of the crop of NXT. This is not Obafemi. This is not Tony D'Angelo. This is not Ricky Saints. This is not Ethan Page. This is the B team. And the fact that they're going against the top of TNA International Champion, all right, in this instance, former International Champion Steve Macklin, the Hardys, Matt Cardona, the King of the Indies. It's weird. It doesn't sit right with me. So yeah, it does feel like there's an imbalance. Again, I do think this speaks to NXT that they just don't have a very exciting men's division right now. outside of the very tip top of their main event scene. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to be really bummed if Team NXT wins. Matt saying WCW did better in the invasion than TNA is doing in this partnership. I think it speaks to how over everyone was back then, that even the low people on the card in the late 90s, early 2000s were still so popular, so recognizable, that you could have somebody in the low end of the invasion, somebody like, not to be rude, Tommy Dreamer, somebody like Raven, who shouldn't be low end. They were top tier ECW names, but they were treated like lower card for the invasion. That they were over, you know, as opposed to here with NXT. Tyson and Tyreek are not guys that I'm super over with. I'm sorry, they just aren't. And that's not a knock on them. I think it has to do with how NXT is developing their talent right now. I don't think it's as optimal as it could be or should be. But yeah, TNA is not looking great right now with NXT. And I've been upset about it for months, if not longer. Basically since the beginning of the partnership. But moving on, we then go backstage where the Angel Warriors, Lei Ying Lee, who is the TNA Knockouts champion, and her partner, Xia Brookside, cut a promo together after their match that they had at Final Resolution. It was a hard-hitting matchup between the two partners. Lei Ying Lee retained her TNA Knockouts championship, and they talk about the fact that they have so much respect for each other that it doesn't matter if they're on the same team or facing each other one-on-one. They're always going to give it all they've got, and they did that in that matchup. And I thought that was I'm getting worried that we're leading towards a split between the two. I think realistically, Lei Ying Lee makes more sense for the heel turn, but storyline-wise, it would dictate that it would probably be Xia Brookside. So I don't know what they're going with that, but we don't have too much time to dwell on that, as they are interrupted by Tessa Blanchard and her whole crew. Victoria Crawford, Mila Moore, and now I guess their manservant, Robert Stone. Tessa says the only reason she hasn't won that Knockouts title from Lei Ying Lee is because she has chosen not to go for it. But if they need a beatdown, they will give it to them. Interesting. I am not clamoring for anything good for Tessa Blanchard, but it does need to be acknowledged that she's not really being put in major situations to be successful. She's not going for titles, not really. And she acknowledged she's not only a former Knockouts champion, she is a former world champion. So who knows what's next? Maybe they go for the tag titles again. They did lose at Final Resolution, but it does feel like they're setting up Tessa to once again be the leader of this posse and probably set up for the Knockouts title. Yay. But continuing with the Knockouts action, we go back to the ring as we have a Knockouts tag team match where the Elegance brand, M by Elegance, Heather by Elegance, took on Harley Hudson and Myla Grace. Guys, I promise you, I made sure I put over women. at the start of this show. This match was not it. It was like 3 minutes. It was very quick. And it just felt like there was just bad timing all around. The finish of the match coming as the concierge carries a Christmas gift to the ring. Christmas gifts that the Elegance brand had brought ringside during their entrance. He has it in his hands as he's on the apron. Harley Hudson grabbed it and hit him over the head with it. His head gets stuck in the box, which is a funny bit, I guess. But then Myla Grace then tries rolling up Heather by Elegance, but the referee isn't in position for it, comes around, and as she's doing the count, and she's got a full visual on everything, M, who's on the floor, pulled Heather on top of Grace and then got the win while Harley Hudson is standing on the apron just watching it all happen. It all just felt very clunky. It felt very eye-rolly. And I'm not against shenanigans for a finish, but it just felt like too many people were not in the proper position to sell it right. And it looked really, really sloppy. And for a match that was only 3 minutes, that's not good. That's really not good. So a little bit of a bummer there. I am happy to see the Elegance brand is continuing. At Final Resolution, they had Ash by Elegance on commentary for the Knockouts Tag Team title match. They have been so secretive about as to why she had to step away from in-ring competition, but she still has shown up with the Elegance brand in some backstage segments. So I'm happy that this pairing is continuing between Heather and M. There is definitely going to need to be some fleshing out of who these two are without Ash. But the fact that they still have the concierge, they still have Iceman, that's good. But definitely invest some time into them. There's potential there if they're willing to give them the time. We then go backstage once again as we are with Rich Swann. Oh, you know what? Before that, I do apologize. I don't have it written out because it was so quick. But the TNA injury report came out, and it was revealed that Matt Cardona is now out of the match for next week due to the arm injury he sustained in the beatdown after the match. So that means Team TNA has an empty spot, and things need to be figured out. So interesting way to continue that storyline throughout the night, that thread throughout the night. But like I said, we then go backstage with Rich Swann, who is being interviewed by the hardest working woman in TNA, Mean Gia Miller. Swann confirmed it after what happened at Final Resolution, where he smacked AJ Francis with that TNA X Division Championship and helped Leon Slater retain the title. This is his exit from First Class. He wants to remind people that he's not only a former X Division champion, he's a former world champion in this company. He was so happy when he first met Francis, who revealed to him that he was getting a tryout to become a wrestler in the first place. He was even happier when he came over to TNA. So he doesn't know how this became what it became, but he's planning on making his own statements. At this point that AJ Francis jumped Swann from behind, attacking him, leaving him laying, and saying he was first class before Swann, and he's still first class now. A matchup between these two is going to be good, but it's kind of a no-lose situation for a can't-lose situation for both talents. AJ Francis cannot afford to take two major losses in a row, having just lost to Leon Slater. And Rich Swann, who's now establishing himself as a babyface and trying to reestablish himself as a talent to contend with, really shouldn't take a loss either to Francis. So unless they're setting up AJ getting a new lackey, a new partner of some kind, very, very, very interesting corner they might have painted themselves into. We shall see. After this, we then go back, again, dealing with the X Division. We go to a number one contenders six-way match to determine the number one contender for the X Division Championship. This match saw Ryan Nemeth take on Cedric Alexander, Jake Something, BDE, who I'm happy to see continuing wrestling in TNA, Desmond Xavier, and Jason Hotch. You guys know how these multi-man X Division matches go. It is hard to keep track of everyone and everything going on. But I can say multiple people filled their roles very well. Jake Something, who really, really, really needs to be transferred over to the international division, probably win that title sooner than later. Played the role of big man very, very well, as we saw multiple times. The smaller guys needed to team up to take him out. Ryan Nemeth played the cowardly heel who just kept trying to take advantage of situations and get the quick roll up or the sneaky win at different points. Desmond Xavier, Cedric Alexander, And particularly, got to give it to him. Jason Hotch, they all showed up. They all gave us that X Division spice and love that we all want to see and we all crave. Jason Hotch really got to give praise to. Mustafa Ali was on commentary selling what happened to him at Final Resolution at the hands of Elijah. And then, of course, their loss to the Rascals. But Jason Hotch has really, really stepped up in a big way these last few months in TNA, being given opportunities to shine a little bit more on his own, a few more singles matches or tag team matches where he's given the spotlight. So very happy to see how good he looks physically and how good he looks as a performer. Really, really happy for Skylar. Or I'm sorry, for Jason Hotch. I like Skylar too. But the finish of the match coming as everybody took out Jake Something. BDE going to the top rope, hitting a huge frog splash onto Jake Something, but being scooped up by Cedric Alexander, who hit him with the lumbar check. 1, 2, 3. Cedric Alexander is now the #1 contender for the TNA X Division Championship. Cedric Alexander versus Leon Slater is sure to be very good. And there is history between these two guys as they have teamed up several times in the past. Very excited for this matchup. Very excited at the thought of Cedric holding gold. Very scared for what this means for Leon Slater, who is already 1 foot out the door to NXT. What up, Maria? How you doing? Pleasure to see you. This episode was a 50 out of 50. And Maria saying, big fan of Jake Something. I am too. I have seen this guy live on several occasions. He is a great talent, a really nice guy too. I was talking about it actually on a Reddit thread earlier today, that I'm very grateful for a championship like the international title. TNA needed a mid-card title. As much as I love seeing him in the X Division, and he plays his part beautifully in the X Division as this juggernaut going against these faster, wilier X Division usuals. But if he's not going to win the X Division title, which he has gone after for so long, a title like the international title makes so much sense for him. I know he's already had a few shots against Macklin and has come up short. I get it. They really needed to establish Macklin and that title as something valuable. So the longer reign was important. I'd be happy to see him be the guy to take it off Stacks. I'd be happy to see him take it off whoever does. If he's not the guy to take it off Stacks, I'd be happy to see him take it off whoever does take it off Stacks, whether it's Macklin or somebody else. But yeah, I am all in on Jake Something. I have been hearing rumors that his contract might be up soon. And if it is, that he might not stick around for too long. Again, rumors, speculation. It's not fair to say these things are fact. But he is somebody who I think would greatly benefit from being in NXT and from being given a much more solid direction than I think he's gotten from TNA in a very long time. So I love Jake, rooting for him, would love to see gold around his massive waist sooner than later, but we shall see. What up, Fernando? He's going to WWE for sure. Look, I think at this point we're seeing that the TNA WWE partnership is less a partnership and more a feeder system for TNA to just give their best to WWE and for WWE's younger and more inexperienced talent to get reps in on another company in front of a different audience. So I'm not thrilled with this, but it's very much a if you can't beat them, join them situation, it seems. Fernando saying Stacks sucks. Look, I know I did not cover Final Resolution. It's probably for the best because the crash out I had when he won the international title was epic. It was legendary, and quite frankly, would have been embarrassing to have on camera. So I agree with you. Not a huge fan of Stacks. Like I like him enough. Not happy he's the international champion in any way in any stretch of the imagination. But here we are, and I hope whoever takes it off him soon. Hi Kirk, how you doing? What's here? We're talking TNA tonight. We're talking Impact. Welcome to the party. Hope you're doing well, and hope you enjoyed the show. And stick around, have some fun with us. But fun matchup as Cedric Alexander kind of snuck his way into that win. Either way, we're looking forward to a great match between him and Leon Slater for the X Division Championship. Moving on, we then have a system backstage segment where it's sort of a little more of the same. We know that they're going to have a match later tonight against Sinner and Saint, where they are hoping to scout as possible replacements for JDC as his retirement is coming up in January. They welcome the competition. They welcome whoever wants to step up and whoever's ready to trust the system, believe in the system. But as they disperse, JDC stops Eddie Edwards and reveals that at Genesis, the two of them are going to go one-on-one. It's going to be JDC's retirement match. And he's known Eddie for a very long time, and he's got a lot of love and respect for him. But he hopes Eddie knows he is not going to be holding back. Eddie says he wouldn't have it any other way, and he's looking forward to it at Genesis. I don't want to say that for sure, Maria. I do think we're past the peak. I think them taking out NXT at Slammiversary, and I think Bound for Glory. No, it was Slammiversary. I think them taking out NXT at Slammiversary was the big win for them, like their peak. And then I think them taking out Order 4 was the right way for that to end. So I'm not necessarily sure that I'm ready for them to break up. With JDC leaving, we're definitely going to see a different dynamic. I think whoever does fill that slot, if somebody does fill that slot, could really inject some new life into them. I don't know who in TNA could be that person. Maybe it's their way of bringing in new talent. As it is, I think it was Moose fought Bear Bronson the other week. So, and that was a fun matchup, but Bear came up short. But we'll see. I think at the very least, I wouldn't be opposed to them going back to being a trio plus Alicia, because then you could have them be a little more focused. Moose being the singles guy going for the world title, Eddie and Brian Myers going for the tag team titles. I think that's fine. Or even if you want to switch it up, like do a different combination of that. Not the worst idea. Ooh, that's an interesting one. Macklin. That is an interesting one. I'm not opposed to it. There's a lot of history with Macklin and a lot of those guys, but he does kind of fit. It wouldn't be the wildest or weirdest addition to that group. Good eye there, Maria. But after this backstage segment, we go elsewhere backstage as we go to Santino Marella, who is with his daughter, Ariana Grace, and they are confronted by Frankie Kazarian, and Frankie says he wants a different challenger instead of Mike Santana. Santino says he kind of agrees. He should have different challengers. So he is setting up a battle royal to determine his new number one contender. And he says, Frankie's like, sure, that's great. So, someone other than Mike Santana at Genesis. Santino clarified, no. I'm not saying instead of a Genesis, it's going to be on Impact. Frankie's like, fine, I get it. I know AMC has been really wanting to highlight me. So fine, on the premiere of Impact on AMC. Santino says, that's in 5 weeks. The winner of this match will face him in 3 weeks. And Frankie will defend the TNA title against someone else on the TNA premiere. So Frankie just got himself 2 additional title defenses. I thought it was a very funny bit. I'm very, very intrigued because presumably he's definitely going to retain in 3 weeks against whoever wins against the Battle Royal. But whoever faces him on the AMC premiere is probably going to be a big deal or should be a big deal. And depending on who that big deal is, maybe we get a title change. And if we get a title change, Genesis is only 2 days later. What does that mean for Mike Santana? Lots of speculation, lots of things to think about, but very, very, very intriguing. And I wouldn't mind throwing some stuff up. After this is all decided, Team NXT comes out of nowhere, and they demand that Santino makes the match. Santino and Ariana Grace make the match 4-on-5. Stax is getting really up in their face, really disrespectful to Santino and his fiance, Ariana Grace. And for that, Ariana smacks him, and they back down. I'm very intrigued to see where this Ariana Grace Stax relationship, like they are legit, real life engaged. Really interested to see where this goes storyline wise. If Ariana has been in on it the whole time, it feels like the easiest and like simplest way of going. I don't know. We'll see. But lots of intrigue and lots of possibilities, lots of potential. And as Maria said, Ariana has a good slap. That was a good slap. She really got him. So well done. We then go back to the system, but now in the ring as they took on Saint and Sinner. The system being comprised of Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards. This match was a little bit. See, I think so too, Maria. I think so too. I think Ariana is going to pull a Stephanie on poor Santino, and we're going to get into that in a second. But yeah, I think so too. This match too was pretty quick. Unfortunately, it was less than 5 minutes, I think, or just about 5 minutes. They are setting up these matches with the system as proving ground style matches. So Judas Icarus, Travis Williams, Saint and Sinner, or Sinner and Saint, sorry, trying to prove that they belong in the system. Ultimately, though, they do fall short to a pretty good finish as Brian Myers hits the roster cut clothesline, sending him to his knee. Travis Williams to his knees, perfectly in place for the Boston knee party from Eddie Edwards. It was a nice transition from one move to the other. I don't know that you're always going to be able to make it that smooth, but they did a good job with it, and that was enough for the 1, 2, 3. Williams goes down. After the match, the system shake the hands of Sinner and Saint, of Icarus and Williams, and while I don't think they're going to be right for the system, this could be a good way of getting lower on the card talent who don't get a lot of TV time opportunities to show up and show off a little bit and impress the crowd. An unofficial open challenge kind of situation. We'll see how that goes, but I'm into it. I am into it. And yeah, Maria, I agree with you. This was a solid tag match between them. Again, quick. Wish it was a little bit longer, but I think it's going to make when somebody does beat them and somebody does potentially earn their way in a lot more impactful. No pun intended. We then go to what was a very weird segment, in my opinion, with the Hardys, who have been advertised all night to come out and speak to the crowd, which they do. Matt hypes up being in El Paso, really hypes up Eddie Guerrero. Both Hardys talk about the steel cage match next week. Jeff said he wants Santino to replace Cardona with someone who loves TNA as much as the Hardys do. Matt promised the biggest year for them in TNA ever in 2026. And Jeff sang his obsolete song about NXT. It's at this point that they're interrupted by the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch. The Righteous having made their TNA debut at Final Resolution. Guys, I'm very disappointed in that crowd. I am very disappointed a little bit in this crowd too. I'm not going to lie to you guys and say I'm a huge, huge fan of the Righteous, but I do got some love for them. I do have a good amount of respect for them. And no team, nobody should debut to crickets the way they did at Final Resolution. I understand not necessarily knowing who they are, so not knowing how to react, but man, it was hard to watch. It was hard to hear. them not get a lot of love. Maria saying, welcome back, the Righteous. See, they needed you in the crowd. They needed you in the crowd on Impact. But the Righteous say, Vincent specifically tries to reassure the Hardys that the Righteous aren't there to hurt them and that they revere them like gods amongst mortals. Dutch, the bigger guy, Vincent, a lot of people should be more familiar with if you're a TNA fan. He has been in TNA before, not even that long ago. I want to say like 2 to 3 years ago, he was in TNA, part of the Honor No More group when a good portion of Ring of Honor got absorbed into TNA. Dutch is a little newer to people. If you haven't been watching the Tony Khan Ring of Honor, he might not be as familiar to you guys. But Dutch affirmed that it was an honor to be in the ring with the Hardys. And then Dutch also saying that just really putting them over. At that point, Vincent wished them luck in their steel cage match next week. And he says, do I look like someone you can't trust? And that was it. Like, it was weird. It was really weird. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm fine. Yes, Fernando, I agree with you. I'll talk about that in a second. There was just nothing to it. I get if the idea is that they're trying to play mind games with the Hardys. Cool. They're a creepy duo. They are a creepy group. That's cool. They should be playing mind games. But it didn't feel like that. I was just more confused as to what the point of all this was. So, yeah, not thrilled with how that played out. To Maria's point that they should win the tag team championships, I'm not opposed to it. The Hardys can't hold those titles forever, although I think they should going into AMC because they are a known popular entity for TNA. But if they win, if the Righteous beat the Hardys, I don't necessarily think the crowd's going to boo that much as they're just going to be apathetic. And that is worse than anything. You don't want the crowd to not care. So we'll see. I think there's work that can be done to get them ready for it. And I think TNA's tag team division is hurting right now. So having a team like the Righteous is great. But let's do a little build up. Let's do a little build up to make sure it makes sense. And Fernando saying that he loves the entrance music. I totally agree. Completely agree. And I think they're a very cool team. So I'm wishing them well in TNA. I think TNA would really benefit from them succeeding. We then go to what we're going to be talking about last year tonight. Santino Marella comes back out into the crowd, into the impact zone, on the ramp, flanked by his daughter, Ariana Grace. He makes the announcement that TNA will have a fifth member. Team TNA will have a fifth member to go against Team NXT. And that fifth member is himself. Santino Marella joining the steel cage match against Team NXT. Ariana Grace looked troubled. She looked worried. And I think, to Maria's point, I think next week is probably going to be where we see the betrayal. Maybe that's upsetting to me because I don't want Team NXT to win, but I think it's very possible. So we'll see, guys. We'll talk about it as we get to it. But guys, that was Impact. That was TNA. Thank you so much for joining me this fine Thursday evening, almost Friday morning. I appreciate you being here, whether you're one of our regulars like Maria or Fernando, or if you're new and you're checking us out for the first time. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. Please hit that subscribe button. Join the party. We're 2 away from 2,000, guys. That's huge. It's huge. And of course, you guys know the deal. Check us out on social media. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, Blue Sky. We're all over. We're all over, and we have a lot of fun on those channels. So, yeah, check us out. We really, really appreciate all of you. We love being here with you guys for everything. Saturday, the John Cena retirement match. I will be there in DC. I am going to be very emotional. I will try to keep the camera steady, but no promises. And just wanted to, I think after that, I guess the next huge event would be World's End at the end of the month for AEW, but we'll see. Either way, love you guys. Have a great night. Thank you so much. Like I said, please hit that like button. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. Have a great night. I am so tired. Bye.